Hi, everybody. Welcome to You Are the Opera of Power with Gail and
Jane. Hi from Jane. Hi, Gail.
hi, Jane. How are you?
Wonderful.
Good. So today, I think we wanted to talk about self-soothing, which is a hard to say that fast. Self-soothing and what that means. Now, for me, we talked a little bit about this in other videos, but it's just turning within to yourself to feel better instead of going out and um, relying on other people to make you feel better. Now, uh, having said that, there's nothing wrong with having support from outside. That's not what I'm saying. One thing you do need to be aware of when you do that is that you're relaying a story. In order to get that support, you need to be saying what your story is. And especially if you have intensity behind it, intense emotion or feeling, then you're feeding the creation of that story. So you got any examples of that, Jane? Not of self-soothing.
Yeah. So self-soothing for me has been probably that's why we wanted to do the video because we talked a lot last night and came to the conclusion that, or I, at least when I'm sharing with you about my story and my circumstance, I feel like I've struggled to go back into myself and say everything is okay, all is well. No matter what the narrative is, no matter what fear you have, no matter uh, what pattern is showing up, no matter how hard it is to acknowledge it, like some of those projections, oranges, and not, or I shouldn't say acknowledge them, but get rid of them. Because that, as soon as you look at them, you're pretty much gone down the rabbit hole.
Well, they
So we,
hypnotize you. So
yes,
just recognize that you get hypnotized and
yes,
end up down the rabbit hole.
yes. So for me, it's been super helpful. Like you said, I was like trying to edit and rewrite the story. You said just see them as oranges, which like condensed it into like something that I can just be like, oh, that's just like, because some stories come up, oh, that's a really important story. I have to remember that forever, like with trauma. And that's what we were talking about, trauma, going back on trauma and saying, oh, I have to remember all the details of it. And then you literally hit a wall and you can't get past that. And we were talking about how to, maybe you said to me, go back to the beginning and rewrite it right from the beginning, that everything is wonderful. I have a magical, beautiful life. I love my life. I love myself. And keep forgiving when those oranges come up. I forgive myself for whatever thinking that that was all there was, or that was the only story, or I forgive myself. I don't know. That's probably really subjective what you're getting into with yourself about, but
Right.
generally what's coming up for me after doing it for like kind of weeks on end is that it's like, oh, I see that orange pops up really, and oh, tons of oranges come with that, so oh geez, like,
Oh, it's a tree.
yeah,
Oh, dang orange tree.
orange juice, yeah. And so basically just getting dumped on and being offended. And we were talking about that too, about like, oh, I could never do that. I could never go there. And once we had talked about in the previous video about seeing the other side of the judgment and experiencing it, a lot of that theme has been popping up for me now, and just being like, oh wow, like holy moly. And so in it being so much, it can take you off. So by turning it into an orange, like literally in my mind I turn it into an orange, well, what's an orange? An orange is just an orange. So it is what it is. Oh, that's what we were talking about too with self-soothing, was just, I am doing this. I am living like this right now. I am living this way now. Or what did we say? I forgot.
I don't remember that part.
At the very end, yeah, at the very end, we decided that because there's so many
Oh,
narratives,
I'm doing this now. I'm
I'm doing
doing
this
this
now.
now. Yeah, I really like that.
Yes, I
Just,
think
and
that's
again, it's
great.
making a decision
Yeah,
focused on what you want. I'm being a coach now. I'm being a banker now, whatever it is you want to do.
yeah.
Whatever your
I am.
career is. I am being that now.
Yes,
And,
and
so, and everything comes from that. So you live from that place when you're thinking in your mind. You're not going to walk into a bank president office and say, "I am being a banker." But
right.
in your mind, you get
Yeah.
that natural, and that is a possibility.
Well, also that if you do that, it's claiming it, taking responsibility for it. And if you are getting taken down into a narrative that is leading into another narrative, another one, it gives you somehow to pull your back, your center back, which is I am. Basically the I am part is the big part of that.
Right.
And then right, and then claiming your own well, for me right now, like, yeah, for me right now, if it's really big, because we were talking about that and how the big ones are the ones that we go most, I am not like that. Like, it's the big ones, it's not the little ones, it's not the, tiny little detail, it's the big one. And I could never be that. And if you can switch that around and look at it and go, oh, well, I guess, because even Jordan Peterson talks about that is talking to yourself how you're capable, because that was the ultimate question, was how could people do this, in doing horrible things? Like, how can people do this? Well, you have to really dig deep within yourself and understand, not so much, like you said, the outer objectified story, but feelings you've had, anger that you've had, or like just.
Well, the thing is too, when you do something and you go back and think like, why did I even do that? I don't understand why I did that. We have to remember that there's only one. And
Right.
we're
Yes.
not consciously not accepting things that are introduced to your mind by conversations, videos, radio, TV, what you're reading, papers, magazines, novels, everything that has any effect on your physical senses that creates a thought and a feeling is deposited into your subconscious purse if you do not consciously deny it. And so you have no choice. You're being compelled. That's why when you have your desire, Neville says, if it takes 10 million people to make it happen, it will happen. And that's because our thoughts are not our own unless we're consciously, thinking them. So when you're unconscious, and even when you're like, we're not even fully conscious yet. I don't think until you've experienced a promise, you're fully awake. So we all can be affected by other people's desires. And so if you did something good or shitty, it was involved in meeting somebody's desire. You may not even know. You're just part of the bridge of incidents. So there's no point in dwelling on it and how could I do that? And, oh my gosh, I'm such a rotten person. Or that was so unlike me. Like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, there's all of that looking down on yourself because of it is really not, there's no benefit to it once you understand that you were compelled in some way to do it. And again, we're getting away from judgment, right? No splitting love in two. So it's not good or not bad what you did. You just did what you did because that was what you were compelled to do. You think you consciously did it, but you hadn't really, in a sense, you had no choice.
Yeah. And also, like, I think what we were sort of focused on in the conversation was how much we're going along in those narratives, and we're all of a sudden, I feel like there's, if you're not in an I am creating my reality, my consciousness, like my world, my decision making, my wants, my, if I'm not doing that, it's a daily practice, I guess I'm trying to get at. It's like, it's not something that just happens and then just, the only part of that is that you're living in your end. That part is like, if you can recover that into your consciousness and then realize, oh, this is one of those things where I need to remember to kind of remain in my own sense of what I want, because nobody really wants to fight with anybody. Like, we pay attention to that and give it energy and love, I guess, technically. But I don't think,
yeah.
and I don't think that, anybody's like, oh, I'm so glad I had that wonderful fight after that. Like, there is and I know that in the extreme, of course, there would be people that would, but just like the wanting,
fighting comes from fear,
right? So
there's a fear of some way,
right? So wanting to stay in a sense of self-soothing brings you the ability, like teaches you to have the ability to stay in yourself while something is being shown to you, probably is all you could say, right? Like, it's like being at,
you're building faith in yourself,
right?
Like, oh yeah, I am okay. I'm okay on my own. I don't need Jane. I don't need so-and-so. I don't need so-and-so to make me feel better.
Yes.
I'm here for me.
And
conversations that you have, can be beneficial for support. You don't have support, but what I'm noticing is that the support, again, it's the road to good intentions, right? Like, the person wants to support you and feels like they should support you, but that's not benefiting you if you're always having to go outside to feel that inner peace or to feel good.
Right. Well, and it's going to be sort of a challenge if you're not staying in that sense of identity and awareness and that's what we were talking about too, about being in the I am conscious right here, right now, not in the future, not in the past, not somewhere else in my mind, not thinking about anything else, but exactly what is in my current stream. Like, you and I here right now is all that's happening.
Yeah.
And see, for a lot, like, if you interact with people, you notice they'll be distracted in their mind. They're worried about something, or, all of that. I'm just recording.
Is Matt gone?
Yeah. So,
well, even in our own conversations on our own, I mean, it's helpful to look like, okay, are you in the past? Is this conversation in my head? Is this in the past?
Yes.
Future?
Yes.
Or is this now?
Right. And none of it is, most of it, I find, like, so to this relationship with you, I've brought my conscious now focus. We talk in a way where we correct each other on our words, and we come to an understanding of if our words are lining up with what our communication is about. Like, and a lot of people, if you try to do that with them, they get all miscombobulated because it's like, oh, why are you telling me? So we got talking about that, and I said I used to try and verbally try and change and influence, and because I was out in the objectified universe, nothing ever went my way. Like it would just not go my way, and
Right.
it was trying to control the, instead of self-soothing, my reaction was to grab and control the outer, my outer perception of what was happening, rather than
Which is like your example that the last video that we did with the woman and the 6 kids.
right.
We looked at that, for those of you that
Yes,
looked at that situation objectively and then translated it basically subjectively. I'll look in the bottom.
So staying I guess the state of staying in I am is very powerful. And like I was saying, like it's like your I don't want to label it, but the I am seems to be more safe. Like it's a sense of safeness to know that I can handle this. I can do, because I hear a lot of people talk, oh, I got to keep people away from me. I don't want to be around them and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, shouldn't you be able to be who you are with anybody, like no matter what, like, and not feel any way about it? Like if you're in a state of I am, then you, and I guess that's the part that we talk about a lot, because that's, you know.
Well, the thing with that example that you used about being yourself around anybody, that's a matter of you, right? Projecting out to them. And if people aren't able to be around you because of who you are, then they'll just go.
Yeah.
And it won't be you saying, get out of my house, get out of my face, get out of my life. They'll just go. They'll move, they'll find new friends, whatever. So none of it has to really happen objectively. You don't have to
Right.
to them. And that's something that, I mean, there's so many things, because it's so opposite to the way we've been living our life. But we don't have to verbalize communication with somebody outside of us. Inside our head is where we do it. And you're practicing your imagination by doing that. You're strengthening that muscle by doing that. And then you can, you respond accordingly to them. No matter what they say, you've already had that conversation, so you know what the outcome is.
And you're also in your I am too. And I was going to say I'm a talker, and I used to talk a lot. And a couple of times people have said to me, "Oh, you talk too much." And I was like, yeah, whatever.
No way.
I'll try, but I'm not going to guarantee anything. But in practicing it, I have opened up new worlds inside my I am. I feel more comfortable. I feel like it's like an energy saver, and I have more energy for myself, and I have less distraction, and I don't get involved in any narrative. I just rewrite it to what I think it is.
Well, then there's no confrontation. People don't like confrontation for good reason.
Yeah, like we were saying.
You don't have to have that confrontation.
Yeah.
But you just do everything in your imagination. Forgive.
Yeah.
There's no point in having an angry conversation in your head.
Yeah.
It's going to manifest. So want that type of kind of confrontation. Forgive. What would you prefer? We don't think like that anymore. What do you prefer? And that's what they've said to you.
Well, and also how you talk to yourself, you talk to others. So if you're talking to yourself harshly all the time, and punishing yourself and telling yourself you're this, you're that, you're going to verbalize that outward too.
I heard
So
something funny this morning. So I got on a podcast I was listening to, and he was saying this guy that he worked with, the guy, really smart guy and really does really well at his job, but I guess he screwed something up. And he's like, "You're such an idiot." And so the guy went over to him and said, "Look, don't talk to my friend like that." Get it?
yeah,
Like, you don't talk to
yeah,
yourself like that. You're my friend.
yeah,
You're important. You're valued. Don't talk
right.
to him like that. And that kind of goes back to the video we did about who's there for you? Are you there for you?
Okay, so then that brings in self-soothing being, like we were saying, a very difficult, or sorry, that's a place where you want to claim and put your attention. It, like, especially for like pain, I suppose, perceived pain or things that like if you can, well, so how would you feel the pain? Don't attach a story to it.
It can't last that long.
That's right.
Yeah. There's nothing,
That's right.
whatever that layer is, will just cry.
Yeah. Yes.
Don't, it's not here nor there. It just is like an orange.
Well, and also,
Very um, just very neutral. I mean,
yeah,
crying is not neutral, but just, it's just like, oh yeah, I did. Like, yeah, the same as I went to the bathroom this morning when I got, yeah. Like, it's just not suggesting that you're going to have a regular cry, but it's just being like that. Like, oh yeah, I did. No embarrassments needed. No stories.
right.
Embarrassment. I'm embarrassed I cried is attaching a story to it and a judgment. So you don't need any of that. Just let the emotion come up, let it go, because we do have it, and you're not, no one is suggesting that you should push it down, because that certainly is not helpful. Let it come up, let it come out, no judgment required, no story required, and it cannot last long if there's nothing feeding it.
And self-soothing becomes, it's almost like it becomes like, in order to self-soothe, you have to be able to let go of those narratives. Therefore, it's not surprising that we're trying to self-soothe with the objective world, like with our stuff and but just to say to yourself, hey, all is well, you're good. Like, and
Yeah.
for a lot of people,
For me, I found it helpful to understand what was going on. So if I had a story attached, okay, what's the subjective understanding of this? What am I missing? Because this is making me upset. So there's got to be something to it for me. And actually, I started this sort of this path 20 years ago, whatever. I actually started from a lie. And I had done something, I lied to somebody else. It was just a white lie. It wasn't even, and that was kind of what got to me, is kind of like, well, why? I don't even know why I lied. Like, if I'm embarrassed or feel like I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, then I shouldn't be doing it. I shouldn't be doing it, lying about it, right? And I wasn't embarrassed,
yeah, for sure.
what I was doing, but I lied about it. And so I was more upset. It took me a whole weekend to kind of run this through my mind. And I was more upset that why did I feel like I needed to lie, as opposed to getting caught? Because I did get caught. I got caught in the lie, but that was kind of, that didn't really bother me as much as, well, why did I even lie in the first place? And so that, once I understood, got to that understanding, like, well, why did I lie? Like, oh, okay, that's on me, because for whatever reason, I'm doing things that I feel comfortable with myself, but I don't feel comfortable with other people being aware of. What does it matter?
Yeah, I kind of,
Comfortable with it. What does it?
yeah. Well, it's funny you say that, because I used to do that. In fact, I can remember a specific time we were out at a bar or something, and I was like, oh, I'm not telling that person I'm here or something. And you were like, well, why? Like, just tell them. What do you got attached to it? And then it made me realize, like, oh, geez, this isn't even about them. This is about me. And then, like I said, well, I'd never do that. And then
Yeah.
thinking, well, okay, so the other side of judgment is an interesting process through that self-soothing. I feel like, and that forgiving, you get to experience the other side of it. And that also validates the reason why you want to stay in that state, right? Because then you're in your most powerful state of love rather than fear, and just creating new fear stories about, like, because I hear a lot of I hear a lot of fear stories. I notice when I hear stories, when I hear people talking. And I guess we were talking about how you talk about yourself to others, what you're saying out loud, what you're trying to validate with yourself to other people,
Mhm.
right? Because really
And
that's all
that's
you're
what happens.
doing.
That's when you get in those states where you need that support. That's what you're looking for, that validation. Like, here, look at this. Look I'm feeling this because of this. Oh yeah, Jane. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. Yes, you have the right to feel that, and that's
Yes.
for that validation. Me,
Yes.
had a lot of intensity and told the story again and again and again and again. And so absolutely, you can feel any way you choose to feel. Whatever you feel is fine. And if it's upsetting and makes you cry, cry. Just don't attach the stories to it, because the stories are all you. Like, how can you change that so you don't go through this again? And that's where, like I was saying, with when I started out, I mean, I went for the whole weekend, like, just totally upset. There was nobody I could talk to because nobody would understand, right? And it wasn't even I tried at that time, because I just knew this was something I needed to get sorted in my own head. And then once I got that, it's kind of like, oh, that was like the tears were gone. Like, never been back since for that reason. Because I got that understanding. It's like, okay, you did this to yourself. Like, you're totally okay doing what you were doing. And it's really nobody else's business what you were doing. But there's nothing you're doing that anybody else has any reason to say, like, like it wasn't, it was very benign. It was just so ridiculous now looking back, right? What the heck? Like, it just, why bother? Like, but I know I was compelled to do that. And then that thought, because I mean, not that I had lied before, but up to that point, I'd never really I had been searching outside all the time for an answer, and nothing. I was not finding anything. It's like, no, that doesn't help me. Go to that. No, that doesn't help me. Okay, I went to, no, they didn't help me. So this is the first opportunity I had that directed me in. So, like, it wasn't that thought about, well, why would you, if you're doing something that you're okay with? Why lie? That thought, I didn't generate that thought. That thought was generated within me and came, and I was at a point where I could accept it. I may have had a dozen thoughts like that over the, previous 30 years and just not recognize them or acknowledge them.
Yeah.
But at that moment, that was the thought. And then it was kind of like, whoa, like, it wasn't, normally it would be about getting caught, right? So upset and embarrassed and all that sort of stuff that you got caught. That would be your normal, or would have been my normal reaction previous to that. But at this point, it was like, no, like, why? What was the point of that? Like, it doesn't even make any sense. And in hindsight, it makes even less sense, but I understand it. And Jane's frozen. So anyways, okay, well, I think we'll, oh, there she is. She's back. So anyways, I just finished the story. Do you have anything else that you want to add? Oh, I'm not hearing anything.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we had a really good discussion last night, and we covered a lot of ground, and we're talking also about um for people trying to make a claim for themselves, they have to feel safe to do that. And sort of self-soothing is the only, it's like the law, it's like we
Well,
talked about.
when you can do that, it's the message that you're giving to yourself is a really, really important one. Like, because what you're saying is, I got this. I don't know how. I'm really upset right now. I don't know. I don't understand anything. I don't know why this happened.
Yes.
But I know I've got this. And it's not even that you're not even consciously saying it, but that's what's being implied. It's like, okay, let's figure this out. Okay, I need to cry. I'm just going to cry. I don't know why I'm crying. And no reason to cry. I'm crying because I'm crying. Okay, fine. I'm just crying. And then you can start searching for that understanding of exactly what happened. But the most powerful thing of it is what you're saying to yourself is, I know I got this.
Right.
The whole thing with creating your reality is taking full responsibility for everything. And so when you go to someone else, you think you're taking responsibility because what do you think about that? Well, what should I say? What should I do? How do you think I should look at it? And that's not really taking full responsibility. It's taking responsibility, trying to find the answer, but taking full responsibility and having faith in yourself. And that's what you need for manifesting, right? Is that faith in yourself.
Yeah.
So it's like living
That's it.
of who you want to be. Who do you want to be? That's my concept of self is I'm powerful, I'm free. Well, in order to be that, you need to have faith in yourself to be able to be that, because situations will come up where you're going to be challenged. That's just
all the time.
Yeah.
As soon as you start doing this work, it's your oranges start popping up.
Yeah.
And the beauty of claiming claiming yourself is that who better to rely upon?
Well, ultimately, I mean, because the laws are working all the time, always have been, it's always responding to you. So you've always relied on you. You just didn't know what you were relying on. You didn't know the effect you were having on your reality. And so this thing,
and you attached it to out there. You kept attaching it out there instead of attaching it.
Right. Like you were responding to out there.
Yes.
As opposed to how it is, it's out there is responding to you.
And the forgiving is what leads you, I feel like keeps you on that path of forgiving, because then you're responding to the I am inside of, like, it's okay. Like, I'm still here for you. I haven't abandoned you. You're not alone. You don't have to go keep seeking and seeking and seeking.
It's a matter of, it actually, to self-soothe, you have to be courageous, and be brave. And that's what you have to be for this lifestyle, consciously. I mean, you do unconsciously too, right? But unconsciously, we didn't know that we were creating this. And so we had, I think for me, a lot of the courage and bravery that I developed came from when I was on the outside, not realizing the power that I had, or that I was creating all of this. But I was able to let go of a lot of fear with that whole legal thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the whole self-soothing is, you have to be brave, you have to be courageous, because you're totally responsible for you. You're saying, I am, you're not saying it, but the implication is that I am here for me. And I got this. I'm going to do me, and I can do me.
Yeah.
And anybody else.
Yeah. And then you don't then when you're in relationship, you're bringing something to the relation, you're bringing yourself to the relationship. There's a solid person standing there rather than somebody that is just objectified onto the other person, and they think they're going to bring it to them when they already have it. And it's almost like complicating it. It's almost like putting it out there to bring it back here to go, oh, I always had it, like giving your power away. So that's where I think when people say you can only give your power away, it's because you're the only one that can put it out there outside of yourself. You, if you hold on to it inside yourself, like you said, it's really important to be able to say, you know, I'm here right now. It's not, I can get through this. I can do this. No one else is going to come and save me from this.
Yeah.
You know, and what a horrible thing to put on somebody. Someone's going to have to save you the rest of your life. Like, that'll be fun for them. And then when they get tired of saving you, you'll be back to where you started, which is to look at yourself and to say, why aren't you saving you from yourself?
Now, having said that, with all of that, I mean, what we're sharing is sort of our experiences, right? The path that we've taken. Ultimately, the quickest path is just staying focused on what you want.
Yeah.
For our particular experiences, we've come through, 50 plus years of experiences, and this is kind of what we've learned along the way, just so people know. It's not a suggestion that it's if you run into situations, rather than running outside, go to yourself and self-soothe. Or you go directly to what do you want. If you can do that, go directly to what do you want, because I mean that's the faster route, and it works just as well. So I just wanted to put that out there, because I don't want us to sound like we're analyzing, because we're not. The purpose of what we've been sharing, especially the last couple of videos and probably the next few to come, is more understandings for people to be able to understand within their lives, because that understanding just makes it so much easier. When you're told to do or suggested to do something and you don't really fully understand, which you very easily can run into with this, because seems to be a layer of understanding as you go along. You hear the same things over and over again, and then one moment it's like, oh, I get it. So if it there's the layer of understanding, just keep at it and trying to understand, even if it doesn't make any sense to you. It's like, well, what do you have to lose to try it?
Yeah.
And rate yourself, dude. You're always doing the best that you can do. I just wanted, before we end, because I think we're probably going on time. What you mentioned, or sort of at the beginning, about going back to the very beginning of your life.
Yes.
And at that point, saying, like, I have a magical life. I have a magical life. I have a creative life. I just have such a wonderful life. When you're doing that in your mind, you're going back to that age, whatever, 1, 2, if you're able to kind of, if that makes sense to that, you would be able to understand that at that age. So it has to be believable to you. So if you go back to that age, then you're creating an end. So when you say, I have such a magical life, I have such a wonderful life, I'm so happy, I have the best relationships, all of that sort of thing, then that's your end. And you can always go to that end with everything that's happening.
Right. That's right.
You know what? Okay, I don't like this that's going on, but it's middle stuff. It's just it's part of the, act 3 of my life, but I know the end. So, go for it, act 3. Give me what you got.
Yeah.
Because I know the end of the movie, and it's fabulous.
Well, okay. And actually that applies in your everyday life, because right now where I'm at and where I see I'm like, I've already done where I'm going to, like, my sort of plan or whatever, I'm already living it. And so when stuff comes up, it's actually like, oh, that, yeah, that's oranges, quickly move through that. And you don't have to get stopped in your path, like your
Yeah,
movement
yeah.
isn't
Well, no,
stopped.
that doesn't fit with what I'm
No, no, and you can
now.
keep
So,
moving.
thanks for coming. Forgive you.
Yeah, yeah,
Your way to being an apple.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, that was great.
Okay, so let's stop it now then. Thank you everybody for joining us. If you think this video can be helpful to anybody, please feel free to share it, subscribe, like, and we'll talk to you soon. See you, Jane.
Bye.